humans are so good at avoiding stuff, right? You know, if your horse has a problem, you just try not to go there. And then one day you can't avoid it, and then you got to deal with it maybe in a situation where you don't want to. And that's where we get hurt.
Yeah.
I had a lady that had a little fjord horse, and this horse was scared of stuff around its legs, ropes or wires or whatever, so she'd be out, and the horse was totally calm and gentle, except when something touched its leg. And anyway, she was be out riding, and she'd always be looking for things in the grass, ropes or wires, and one day she was in the long grass, and there was some wire there, and this horse got it, and things went really bad, and she was in the hospital for 2 months. And after she got out, she called me and said, she was telling me what was going on with her horse, and I said, well, bring it over and we'll see what we can do. So she brought it over, and we did the stuff just like we were doing with those horses yesterday, starting small, leading the horse by a foot, got so we could wrap the ropes all around it, you know, just circle with those 60-foot ropes round and round and round. And then the horse, you know, there was probably 8 or 10 wraps around the whole horse's body, you know, and you could see it panicking, and then it calmed itself and walked out of it. And this probably took about a half an hour, and then the lady said, why didn't I do this before? You know, instead of going through all the stuff that I went through. And she was avoiding it. She was avoiding dealing with it, and it cost her, you know, 2 months in the hospital. So that's why when you're out with your horse and you know there's something not right, it's better to figure out how to get through it. You know, and some horses just aren't suited for some people. You know, and that's the reality of it. You know, we tend to get attached to them, and we just might not be suited. You know, and I've seen people riding horses that are scared to death on the horse, but they're attached to it, so they'll jeopardize their own safety because they're attached to this animal. You know, and that's not good. You know, if things aren't working, you got to say, this isn't going to work. Or if the horse is really intimidating you, you know, and you get really nervous riding, you can still do lots of stuff with horses. You don't have to ride them. You know, because if you're feeling that way, one day it is going to happen. You know, and I've told people that lots over the years, you know, if you keep going this way, something's going to happen. One day they don't believe me till it happens. I say, oh, you don't know what you're talking to. My horse, you know, my horse would never do that to me. You know, and that's a misconception. The horses will look after themselves first. You know, and just because you think they, you know, they won't ever do it, they look after the number one, which is themselves. And it's the same for us. Like, I would never ever put myself in a bad situation for a horse. I'm number one. And you got to think that way. You know, and it's, you know, it's a partnership, but you still got to look out for yourself. You know, and if you're a sacker, you're setting yourself up for failure.
So, but still, we have to try a little bit the edge of.
You always got to work on the line,
Right.
yes. But you got to, and it's small steps. You know, like with some of them that have some issues, sometimes you got to get down to the level where they are to fix it. So horses that have whatever negative stuff going on, sometimes to take care of it, you got to go right back into it. You know, you know, sometimes you got to get down to fix it. You got to get right into it, and then you can help them through it. But if you just kind of go part way into it, you're not really dealing with it. You know, and there's going to be progress. There's going to be regress. You know, that's part of working with a young horse. You know, you deal with the good times, and you help them through the bad times. You know, and if you can start to realize that we're no better than they are, you know, and they're just trying to figure out a way to work with us, and we're the ones that always stop them. And that's why a lot of times with the horses, we block them by too much of this or not understanding it. But the whole thing with us when we're learning is not to put too much pressure on ourselves. You know, we learn, I'll get this done today, this tomorrow, I have to go back because this didn't work. It's best to go small. The horses are fine. You know, it's us that's working on stuff. You know, and that's why when things aren't working and you can't figure it out, like, don't be afraid to get some help. You know, good help. And I had a horse years ago that was off the track, and this horse could stand tied up for about 20 minutes or half an hour, and all of a sudden it would pull back, throw itself, and just lay on the ground. And I tried everything I knew to fix that horse, so I figured, well, if I just keep tying it up, it'll figure it out. You know, and that was, I didn't know. You know, how could I know? And then I'd pony the horse out. Everything I could possibly think of for my limited lack of knowledge, right? And every day the horse would stand, it would be standing there sleeping. 20 minutes and all of a sudden something would tweak in its brain, pull back viciously and flop over on the ground. And it's just like, no, and I was thinking, I'm not getting on this horse, because if that ever happens, I'm toast. Like, I was smart enough to know that. So anyways, I have a good friend down in California, his name's Brian Newbert. And I phoned him so many times with horse problems over the years, and I phoned him and I said, Brian, this horse, I have no idea what to do. And then I kind of explained the story to him, and he said, well, as long as I can understand what you're trying to tell me, because he said, everybody sees things different, you know, and some words to somebody might mean something completely opposite to somebody else. Like, even that black helmet there, if I asked everybody to give me your opinion of that helmet, everybody would have a different opinion. You know, and I said what was going on, the horse was be good, and then it would pull back and lay down and just quiver. And he said, well, I'm going to give you what I think. Might not be right, but I'll tell you what I think. He said, this horse has learnt this over the years. It pulls back and it throws itself on the ground, and that's how it numbs it. That's how it deals with the pain. Because he said when it's pulling back, there's so much pain here and here. It goes down, and it's just like that's where it's learned to relieve itself of the pressure. And he said, this is my suggestion. He said, for a while, don't even tie this horse up. It's so you can lead it by any foot. It's so you can lead it by pulling its tail. Anything. Because he said, you got to find some new ground to help this horse get through this. So I did it. I got so I could lead it by any foot, just like we were doing a little bit yesterday. Back foot, front foot, pulling its tail, would back up, you know, anything. So I did this for a couple weeks, and things were going along really good. And even when I was ponying the horse out, there was never any pressure in the rope, none. It was just coming with me. And then one day I said, all right, we'll try tying you up again. And this was about 3 weeks later. And I really made sure before I tied it that it would come off of the pressure nice and lightly. Tied it up, and the horse never pulled back again. But I would have never in a million years known how to get through that if I wouldn't have called him. You know, a lot of these guys have got so much experience and have seen so many things. You know, on that horse, I would have made things worse on it. I was. So yeah, that's why, you know, if you want to, you can never know too much to ask for help when you need it. Even like Ray, and he said if it wasn't for Tom Dorrance, he would have never figured it out. He said he was actually until he was 45, he was doing the horses completely wrong. And he said at the time, he said if there was a problem with the horse, he'd just go get a bigger stick. And he said back then, that's the way it was done. Right? And then he said he heard about this Tom Dorrance guy that could take these horses and fix them up and never had any problems with them. And he said he had this horse that was, every day was just dusting him. And he said he would try everything, you know, and it was pretty physical stuff. And then he said, Tom, come over, and he told him what was going on, and Tom said, actually, that's the last thing that horse wants to do. And he said, what are you talking about? He's trying to kill me every day. And Tom said, he doesn't want to do that to you, but he has no choice. So they said they laid the horse down. Tom showed him how to lay the horse down nice and easy. You know, got the horse nice and relaxed on the ground, and got up, and he said, all right, you should be able to get on and go now. Went off on the horse, never did nothing. So, and then the next day, they did the same thing again. The horse was good, and then Ray said within a couple of weeks his kids were riding this horse. And that's when he really realized that there is a better way to do this. You know, and Ray Hunt was the cowboy of cowboys. Like, he was... But he's had to get humbled before he could learn.